Hi, I'm Tim Marshall. Welcome to the R&B Showcase. And we got some special guests in the studio. We're bringing back the sound of classic R&B and soul and Motown. We take you over, under, and through the decades, honoring all those legends in R&B music. We have a special guest in the building. And we're going to first introduce a young lady. She is the president and CEO of the Rhythm and Blues Music Society of Atlantic City. We're going to welcome Miss Vannessa Jordan to the show. Vannessa.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank
Now,
you for having me.
Now, is your organization in Atlantic City?
No.
Where's it based out of?
We're based out of New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, we just do a few things in Atlantic City. But yeah, we're the National R&B Music Society.
National R&B Music Society.
Yes.
Okay, of South Jersey. Right?
No South Jersey.
Okay.
We just do a lot.
But you're a national organization.
Yeah, we do things all over.
Okay.
We just hold a lot of events in Atlantic City, but we've done a lot in Philadelphia. We do things in New York. We do things in North Jersey.
Well, see, I always push Atlantic City because I started in radio in Atlantic City. That's why I love that Atlantic City.
WUSS?
I was at WAYV.
Oh, WAYV.
95.1.
Yes.
We were number one with the
it.
radio show in the night show. So I was there for a couple of years. But I was actually there when it was on the world famous boardwalk in Atlantic City. People walk by and wave at the glass and see the DJ in the building that's playing the music. So I always have a special place.
You go way back.
Atlantic, it's always has a special place in my heart, for Atlantic City.
Yeah, I came to the area around 85.
Okay.
We live about 20 minutes out of Atlantic City.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. We're going to talk more about your beginnings with that, but we also want to honor this next young man. He is another special guest. We have a surprise guest in the building. And, he is one of the original members, and they still have all the original members together.
That's true.
Of Black Ivory. We're going to welcome Mr. Stuart Bascombe to the show. Let's give a round of applause for Stuart Bascombe. Yes,
How you
sir.
doing, Tim? How you doing, Tom? Hi.
Now, wait before I start. Round of applause for Vannessa, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Vannessa. Yes. Got to do that. But it's good to have you both with us here today. I'm honored to have you here, Vannessa, and to have you here,
Thank
Stuart.
you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Taking the time out of your busy schedule. Now you're on the run and got a lot of things to do with your organization. And, Vannessa, let's talk a little bit about that organization now.
Okay.
It's the National Rhythm and Blues Music Society.
Correct.
All right. And you're doing a lot of great things. I had the opportunity to see you down in Atlantic City recently for your Walk of Fame.
Yes.
Tell us about that Walk of Fame. That's a very special event, and it's the inaugural event, right?
Yes. We just had the inaugural event April 24th.
Okay.
And we inducted, the Atlantic City Walk of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
We established it. Took about 2 years, with speaking with the mayor of Atlantic City, Mayor Marty Small Sr., and March of 2022, he approved it, and we had our first induction 2023 of April, and we inducted James Brown, the Delphonics, Little Anthony and the Imperials, and Grover Washington Jr. So we have 4 plaques in the ground. We're very happy about that. We're so excited about establishing the Atlantic City Walk of Fame, which we thought it should have been one there, from all the decades of music artists coming through Atlantic City.
Well, I'm glad you had the opportunity to get that established.
Yes.
Vannessa.
Yes.
That's a great thing. It's definitely something that's needed.
Yes.
To pay homage to all of those great artists
that came through. Yes.
So how do you go about selecting which artists to honor? Is there a certain period of time you're looking for?
Yes. Well, you have to have 25 years in.
Okay.
And you had to have been in performed in Atlantic City.
Okay.
So it's the Atlantic City Walk of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's open to, we actually have 4 categories that we pick from. Popular music, vocal groups, bands, and jazz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if somebody played like Club Harlem in Atlantic City back in the day, would they qualify to
Are they a recording artist?
Yeah, recording artists that maybe performed there.
Not just perform. Well, they had to have been on the charts.
Right. Okay.
And from Cashbox,
And
Billboard, and
Record World.
Record World. Yeah,
Okay.
they had to have a song album on the charts.
Okay, so that's part of the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, you had some heavyweights
performed.
there.
Yeah.
James Brown, definitely.
And he was there so much.
Yeah,
A
he
lot
was
of
there.
people qualified.
I had the opportunity to interview James Brown, which was the highest honor for me.
Wow.
right before, it was actually right before he'd passed
Wow.
in Atlantic, when he was in Atlantic City, and had a chance to talk to him for a while. So
Yeah. We were glad to have his daughter come and accept the honor. So that was nice. And it was nice to have 5 of the Imperials
yes,
at the inaugural.
most of the originals were there, weren't they?
Yeah, only one, Tracy Lloyd.
Okay.
Lloyd.
And Sammy Strange. was it?
Yeah, Sammy. It was Sammy, Little Anthony, Ernest Wright, Clarence Collins.
Wow,
And I'm missing one.
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's just something that 5 of them from the 50s were there.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
blessing to still have them with us.
Yes,
There's so many, of our legends have gone, but to have them still here
Yeah.
is a great thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because we want to talk a little bit further about your organization, National Rhythm and Blues Music Society. And now, how did this come together, this organization? And then tell us what the mission of the organization is.
It started online on a Amazon thread, Awesome Soul Ballads, back in 2006. This is where it came from. I'm one who never speak to and interact with people online, and I was going on Amazon getting music, and then I just sing Awesome Soul Ballads, a thread, and I was like, oh, that piqued my curiosity, and started blogging with them, and it was about 40 people that were on that thread, and we were some heavy hitters, of soul music, lovers of soul music, rare soul music as well, and appreciation of the artists that created the music. And we had, like I said, it was about 40 of us. We had this white girl from South Carolina who was blind, 19, and we would say, oh yeah, that was made in 1969. She's like, no, that was the remake. It was, the original was in 67. We was like, wow, she's good. So I mean, these were like real heavy hitters of the music. And after around 2008, I said, we need to start an organization, and that's just how it started. We started coming up with names, and the vice president, William Blackshear, said, well, what about we were thinking about like this is Soul Society Children or something. And he came up with the National Rhythm and Blues Music Society. And it was like,
Talk about some of the other members that were part of that thread. Talk about some of the other members that were part of that thread. Wasn't Ophelia part of that thread?
Yeah,
in
Ophelia
Monterey?
Gray, Monterey. Yeah, but it was people from all over. It was from L.A., Denver, Kansas. People were just from all over. It was a few of us on the East Coast. And William Blackshear, who was the vice president, he had a record shop in Roselle, old school record store. And then we started going, the people that were on the East Coast, like in New York, Jersey, Maryland, would go to that was our playground. It was like, wow, the music, right? And he had probably about 30,000 albums and 45s in that shop. And that's where we had our first event. It was held, and 40 people came from around the country, and we had our first throwdown, which is 15 years ago. We're celebrating our 15th year anniversary.
Congratulations on that. Yeah.
In August at our annual barbecue this year. So that was the first barbecue in 2008 at the record shop in Roselle.
Okay.
And I invited Ted Mills because I knew Ted lived near there, and I thought they would get a kick out of having one of the artists they always talk about at the event, at the barbecue. It was like called the first barbecue, first throwdown. And Ted came, and Ted was like, this is great. I want to be a part of this. So we weren't in the, we hadn't done anything official at that point, but Ted was like, I want to be a part of this, and I want to bring people in. And when he left, he called, he's like, Vannessa, I got to be a part of this. He's like, this is just great, because of the people and the vibe he got from everybody and the love of the music. So then I had to go into fifth gear and we incorporated the name, got a website up, because now you got to look professional. He's starting to bring some of his people in. And that's how I got started. And I started, I knew a lot of the artists as well. My first husband, my ex-husband, was the drummer of Fort Blue Magic. He was their band leader back in 78 to 81. Awesome. And then he was with the Stylistics until about 83. So I already knew a lot of them. That's why I invited Ted, because I knew he was in the area. But yeah, once that occurred, it just like, went. Had to go into fifth gear and get everything going to make it legit. That's how it started. And
now you already had a background in promotion, didn't you, with your family?
Not my family. Yeah. In the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, that was quick. because that'll break you quick. You have to have deep pockets to promote, in promotions.
It's a lot of work too.
Oh yeah, well, not that it's not the work; it's the money. If you don't have deep pockets, in the '90s, putting up your own money. You lose 50 on one show and you profit 10 on the other. It didn't add up.
Right.
I didn't have deep pockets like that, so that was probably like a 2.5-year stint. It's like, oh no, this isn't going to work.
Was that the one in North Jersey or New York?
No, I did this in Atlantic City.
Atlantic City?
Yeah, my first show was with H-Town Brownstone, Changing Faces at the Convention Center.
Oh, okay.
Then brought Aaliyah, Tony Terry, and yeah, but that didn't last long because it was like, this doesn't work. Yeah, promotions, you gotta hope you get money back. You put the money out. You have to have deep pockets.
Oh yeah, that's part of it.
So now we're nonprofit. We're 501c3, and we get funding to produce shows.
That's great.
So that's better.
So you're also doing things in Atlantic City, outside summer concerts. And who are some of the artists that you've had on your shows?
Probably like around 75.
Wow.
From the Funkadelics all the way to Touch of Class. So everybody in between, the Whispers, the Stylistics, Russell Tompkins in the new Stylistics, Dramatics, Black Ivory, Shy-Lights, War, Confunction, Ohio Plays when Sugarfoot was there. Cameo. Yeah. Yeah, it was just...
You've had Dennis Edwards too, right? Temptations Review.
That was the biggest show.
Yeah.
That was the biggest crowd that we had. Yeah. They're free concerts in Atlantic City. Been producing the Atlantic City Free Summer Concert since 2009. And they're great because they're free to the public, and we get to put some cash in the classic soul artists' pockets. Yeah.
And you help keeping that legacy of that music alive,
Our mission is to preserve, promote, and honor classic soul R&B music and the legends that paved the way for today's artists from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we started bringing in some 90s because we have to have people to carry the torch.
Right.
But our main thing is to preserve that era of music because I feel they don't get that much respect. They definitely didn't get the money from what they did. They produced, the 70s produced more gold and platinum albums than any other decade. And it was strictly because of those artists. And when they did make the money, the record company, they didn't put it back into them. A lot of them put it into their pop artists. So they didn't reap the rewards from what they created.
Well, it's nice that your organization is able to do that, to honor those artists. And you have a gentleman with you, Stuart, who also works with the organization. Stuart, I'm honored to have you here, man. And, of course, I have, I always say, I have the original copy of Black Ivory with Russell Patterson, Stuart Bascombe, and Leroy Burgess. And it's nothing like having the real thing.
Yes.
It's all about having the real vinyl,
yes,
the real thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that probably has the original version of You and I on it, also the 7-minute version.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole...
It's a pleasure to be
here. Now, which
here.
one is you, Stuart?
I'm the one in the middle.
There you are.
One in the middle, big afro.
Right. And where's Leroy here?
Yes.
And then
and Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the only classic soul group from the 70s that are still performing with the same original members from the first recorded record.
Yeah, since 1969.
Yeah.
Now, where's
the only one?
Where's your group originally from, Stuart?
Originally, we started in Harlem, New York.
Okay. And when did you start?
In 1969.
All right, tell us about your group. A little bit about the group. You started in '69. It was the same three guys have been together.
No. The group started from three gentlemen that went to Powell Memorial High School.
Okay.
Larry Newkirk, Froyland, Vito Ramirez, and Michael Green.
Okay.
Three guys, teenagers, went to Powell Memorial High School, got together, put a group together. Now, Larry and Leroy both worked in the same summer program in 1969. And during one of the days they were in the basketball court with the kids and everything, Leroy started singing along with a song on the radio. I think it was a song by Smokey Robinson. And first Larry and Leroy were singing together, and before long everybody stopped just to watch Leroy sing. So Larry told Leroy, well, I have a group, why don't you come and join us, So Leroy joined the group with Larry, and Larry lived in the building next to mine in Esplanade Gardens on 47th Street in Harlem. And during the summertime, Esplanade Garden had an outdoor pool, and we both used to swim at the pool and hang out all day. But one day Larry left a little early, and he said, "Look, I gotta go." I said, "Well, why are you leaving so early?" He said, "I gotta go to rehearsal." I said, "Rehearsal? Rehearsal for what?" And he said, "I have a singing group." I said, "Man, I've been trying to get into a singing group for years. I had, during my earlier years, I had been trying to start some type of singing group because I was inspired by groups like Little Anthony Imperials, the Beatles, everybody else was out around that time, Four Tops, but was never able to get more than two people together to do it.
Okay.
So he invited me to the rehearsal, and I sat in the rehearsal and joined them in practicing one of the songs. And so they invited me to join as well. Larry had a sister who was friends with a young musician by the name of Patrick Adams.
Okay.
So Patrick Adams had agreed to come to one of our rehearsals to listen to us. And when the day came for him to come to the rehearsal, he wasn't able to make it. So he called up on the phone, and we sang one of the songs we had been practicing over the phone for him. And he decided he wanted to work with us, and then invited us down to one of the public schools, PS 92 in Harlem on 134th Street, on Saturdays to start, working on putting songs together for the group. And we would all gather around the piano. Patrick would play the piano, and he taught us parts, and we would sing popular songs and also songs that he had written. And that was the beginning. After about a year, one of the name of the group was originally the Mellow Souls.
Okay.
But during that time, Patrick said, "Yeah, I don't think that's a strong enough name, so I think we need to change it." So he and I got on the phone together one day, each with a dictionary in our hands, putting together adjectives and nouns, trying to come up with something. And at one point he said Black Ivory, and it immediately rang a bell for me. So, we agreed to that and then presented it to the rest of the guys, and they loved it as well. So he went with Black Ivory. At first, Patrick thought that 5 people was too much to work with.
Okay.
So one of the members left the group. Michael Green left the group, and that left 4 of us. And then eventually Vito Ramirez left the group, and we brought in Russell Patterson to replace him. And Larry left to pursue a school career. So then it left 3 of us. And at first we, said, well, we got to find a 4th member. And Patrick said, "No, let's just stay with 3. So we stayed with 3 members, and it's the same group that you see today.
Tell us about that harmony. You have a special kind of harmony, special a blend. It's a very unique sound,
Well, what's interesting is that all 3 of us have very similar voices. There's sometimes when if you're listening to us sing, especially when we're singing in our natural voices, not using falsettos, you might not be able to tell us apart which one is singing. And I think that lends a lot to why we're able to harmonize so well together, and the sound that we have.
Yeah, I'm confused at times. I'm like, wait a minute.
And then I see you singing lead also, on the songs, with the tenor, high tenor.
Yes, well, I always sang high tenor to some extent. In the beginning, it definitely wasn't as good as Leroy's. Of course, we went with our strong hand. Leroy was a great falsetto lead singer. And so he's the one that recorded almost all of the early falsetto leads. But he left the group at one point. It was in 77. He left the group to go on to pursue a solo career and to start doing a different type of music, because he was more into dance music than the record companies really wanted to hear from us, because we had already established a track record as a sweet soul singing group. High falsetto. So when he left the group, the duty of singing the leads fell on my shoulders, because I could do it, and we still had to perform at live shows, and it was a little awkward for me at first, because I wasn't used to being out front, for all the songs. But since the time that he left, I've been singing leads. We weren't working together for a while after like 1981. Of course, when Leroy left, it just left Russell and I together as the group. But we reunited in 1995, and we have been together and performing together since 1995. And one of the stipulations when we got back together was that I continue singing the leads.
Well, you sound great, man. You still got your voice.
Still have that. They keep the flavor.
Yes.
And what's unique is they all switch different. The song, the part he would sing, sometimes it's Russell singing that part, and then Leroy. It's just they
Right,
just
right.
change up, but you still have the same
sound,
fellas. And they're the only ones from the first recording
Right.
are still
there.
Yeah, and
what a blessing, man.
something I thought he was
Absolutely
going to touch on. I thought Stuart was going to touch on. They were opening for Kool and the Gang. Patrick was friends with
Gene Red Jr.,
who was the manager of Kool and the Gang.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
You want to tell?
Sure. Yeah. When it was before Russell joined the group, when it was still four of us, Larry Newkirk, Vito Ramirez, Leroy Burgess, and myself, Patrick had taken us in the studio to record some songs, and he was trying to get us a deal. At that time, Gene Red Jr., who was the manager of Kool and the Gang, was starting a record label called Red Coach Records.
Okay.
And so he presented the what we had recorded to Gene Red, and we went into the studio to record more songs. Now, in order to promote the group, they put us on the shows with Kool and the Gang, so that we would open up for Kool and the Gang. You know, when Kool and the Gang would start their set, we would do do 2 songs with Kool and the Gang playing behind us.
Oh, wow.
They were the back in band.
Awesome,
Right. And then, when we finished doing our 2 songs, they stayed on stage and continued with their set. So, we have an intrinsic story, in our beginnings.
Yeah. That was cool.
Fabulous. How about the choreography, man? You have some really nice choreography, your group.
Thank you.
Who came up with that?
Each of us has a role in addition to singing our parts on stage. Leroy was always like the musical director. Russell Patterson always took care of the way we looked on stage, our clothes and everything, and I did the choreography.
Okay, all right, we got them stepping. That's awesome, very awesome thing. So you're gonna be doing some of the shows coming up soon with the group, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Was August 26th.
August 26th.
August 26th.
Okay.
Yes, September 24th and October 22nd in Bethesda.
And then we're doing, was it February 14th? I don't have the
Lyric.
Lyric. If I knew I was going to be
February.
on, I would have tried to memorize all this stuff today.
Okay.
So I knew ahead of time. But
February 19th.
February 19th.
Of next year, man. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
At the Lyric.
Nice to be working.
With the Whispers.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a good show.
Dramatics.
Yeah.
Peaches and Herb.
Yeah. Absolutely great to be working. I mean, during COVID,
They shut a lot of things down for the artists,
Yeah, absolutely. So things are picking back up again. They started picking back up last year.
We haven't lost a step, brother. You're still doing your thing.
Thank you so much. God's blessings.
Did a great hosting job also at your Atlantic City Walk of Fame event too.
He's our spokesperson.
Yeah,
for the organization. He's
awesome.
Really good. I'm like,
Very good.
I don't like being out front. Go, you go.
Well, I was looking at your past list of honorees, and it was great to see people like Joseph Jefferson and Bunny Sigler and my good friend Bobby Starr from The Intruders to get honored. And these are some of the artists that just didn't get the recognition, when they were out. Right. So to see that list of artists, who are some of the other artists that you've recognized? You said over 85 artists?
That we hired.
Okay.
And we, that we booked for shows.
The shows, okay.
We also book out during the course of the year. They come through our organization, different promoters too, because we have about 140 classic soul artists whom are members of the organization. Okay. So we have an artist roster, and people come through the organization to book them. Okay. But we also hire too when we do the shows. And we have probably over 75 artists that we booked so far, but we've honored like Betty Wright. And it seemed like she passed like right after that. Leon and Betty Wright, Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff. We do also the songwriters, songwriters, radio personalities from that. Of course, was Vaughn Harper. We honored too. We honored
Kenny Burke.
Kenny Burke was last year, from of the Stair Steps.
Clarence Burke Jr. Edna Wright.
Yeah,
Honeycomb.
Well, the Honeycomb.
One of them passed, right?
Edna. But we honored her and Shelley.
Right.
Yeah, Shelley was there. Kool and the Gang. We honored.
Wow.
Okay. Shaw-Lights.
The Ray Goodman and Brown.
Blue
Patrick
Magic.
Adams.
Patrick. Yeah. It's just
Delphonics.
You did both William and Wilbur, right? For the Delphonics? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. The good thing is, Stuart spoke on about he would always speak on the organization as far as, you know, they would see each other going back 50 years, you know, on stage in passing. You know, that one's going on, this one coming off. So they go back
Right.
5 decades with some of the artists, but they never fellowship. And the organization, I mean, you can speak to that.
Yeah. You know, back in the 70s, you know, and I just have to say it was such an honor and blessing to know that I was able to perform on the same stages with so many of these great artists back during the time when they were making the history. You know, now we listen to it on the radio as oldies and things like that. They, you know, the hip hop art acts are sampling these records and everything. But you know, when I look back on the years, I say, man, you know, you were there performing on these same shows, on these same stages with these people when they were making the history, when these records were fresh on the charts. But back then, when you performed, to some extent, there was some competition. You know, who's going to burn up the stage tonight? You know,
all right.
You know, and there wasn't as much as of a camaraderie or a fellowshipping between the artists back then. But one of the things that time and the organization has helped to do was to bring the artists back together and really, you know, fellowship and have a real camaraderie. You know, because we have that connection, we have that history together. You know, there's some artists nowadays who are keeping those names alive. You know, that but weren't originally members of the recording groups, and they wonder, well, you know, how come we don't have that same connection with you, so forth and so on? It's because you don't have the history, really.
You weren't
You know,
there. They're respectful, but you weren't there in the 70s. And
You weren't there, so there's no normal connect. There's no, you know, we're not disrespectful to them or anything like that. But it's not like a natural connection because, you know that you shared those moments and those stages and those shows and those memories together.
Speaking of those shows, you were on some TV shows. Soul Train, were you on Soul Train with your group?
We were on Soul Train and
a couple other shows too.
Soul,
yes,
Georgie Wood.
Soul, Georgie Wood show.
The Georgie Wood show.
Yes. And
Awesome.
I really wish I could find where those tapes are, if they still exist.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And like I was telling you earlier, I was actually you were on some shows that they had in North Jersey, I believe this was.
Yes. That was one of the big show series that Paul Kaiser would produce. As a matter of fact, Paul Kaiser was one of the promoters that was responsible for bringing Black Ivory back to the stage when we first got back together in 1995.
Okay.
One of the first shows that we, the very first show we did was at a place called Club Elite in New York City. But after that, the next show was, I think, at Newark Symphony Hall with Black Ivory, the Shy Lights,
Persuaders.
the Persuaders, the Stylistics, and Paul Kaiser was the promoter that really put together the shows that first brought us back together.
And then you have a Black Tie event coming up soon, right?
June 20. That's September 24th.
Okay, all right. Any artist who's going to appear on that show? Or actually, when you honor,
that's what
artists.
we honor. We're honoring
Okay.
Glenn Jones, Miles J, Evelyn Champagne King.
Wow,
Audrey Wheeler.
great artist. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lenny Green, the radio personality.
Okay, so if folks want
And
to
Houdini.
get involved or become members of your organization or attend your events, how would they go about doing that, Vannessa?
Well, you can go to our website, which is www.rnb, like Raymond Nancy Boy, rnbmusicsociety.com.
Well, Vannessa, it was an honor to have you here today.
Thank
Finally got you here in the studio.
Thank
And then the surprise guest, Stuart Bascombe from Black Ivory, a legend, living legend in the building. And of course, the original member from on the album, on the recordings that you hear. We got the man here himself in the studio. So this is great.
Yes.
Thank you both for coming down here today.
Thank you
Appreciate
for the R&B showcase.
Let's give a round of applause for
Thank
these
you for having
artists,
us. Thank
please. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Thank
It was a great
you.
experience.
My name is Tim Marshall. I want to thank you for joining us for R&B Showcase Live.